Hey, folks, it is December the 3rd, and today we're talking about Rome and its struggles against the other Latin tribes that were nearby them in the early Republic. And this is going to culminate in the stories of Coriolanus and Cincinnatus, two famous Romans. I think Coriolanus has had a play by Shakespeare made about him, and Cincinnatus was so famous that he inspired the founding fathers in America. And of course, we have the city Cincinnati named after him, and all that stuff. In fact, George Washington was called the Cincinnatus of America because he had the chance to become king, but instead he gave up the throne and decided to become president for a little while instead. And we're not going to have a lecture tomorrow. I'm going to have a little assignment for you to do instead. And it's about that. Yes, really. So they're really real. For you in class, it's going to be a little different than what they do online, but it's going to be the same topic. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. If you could please put up the stuff and things.
The stuff
and items. There you go. The matter, the materials. All right, so
everything is matters.
So yeah, of course, first we have the story of Coriolanus. He was, of course, a brave Roman general who's going to take out a city by the same name. And as you remember, as their enemies rushed out of their city to surprise attack the Romans, kind of rushing out the gates at the sieging Romans, much like really the Iliad, where you'd have the Trojans rush out of Troy and attack the Greeks,
and then
the Achaeans. But see, in this one though, when they ran out, they left the gates open. So the Romans, led by Coriolanus, rushed in, set fire to much of the city, and managed to make them submit. So he was a big Roman war hero. However, he was a patrician, and he despised the Roman commoners, the plebes. And so whenever there was a big famine and they had a grain shipment in from Sicily, which you know is right next to Italy, in Rome they had price controls, like set prices on how much grain costs. And so while they were debating it, Coriolanus said, if you're going to sell it to the poor at a decent price, they need to give up their political rights. The poor found out about that, and so the plebeians ran him out of the city. He was so mad, he joined the enemies of Rome and led successful attacks against them. But as you remember, the story goes, the Romans sent first government officials, the senators, to go try to talk him out of it. He told them to go away. They sent their priest. He told him to go away. But when his mom and his wife and kids showed up and begged him, he relented. But what this shows, it shows now the Romans were very disdainful towards women, right? Unless it was your mother. And it's a very Roman thing. If you think of like I always tell people, think of Romans as mobsters. Like, do you think a mafia guy would hurt his own mother? No, he wouldn't. But he might not care about anybody else.
Means family.
Yeah. So it really was. It was all about the family. Yeah. You had the paterfamilia. You had the dad in charge who had life and death authority over the family members. But even his own mother was above him in many ways. So he respected her and turned away. Now the story of Cincinnatus. So Cincinnatus was of the upper class. He was a noble, but he was poor. And he represents the ideal Roman citizen. He farms his fields during the times of peace. But during times of war or national need, he throws all things away and serves Rome. Remember, everything's for Rome. It's something they have similar to the Spartans.
The thing on his the axe on his right hand looks like the barrel of a minigun.
I guess so. Yeah, all those sticks around.
Yeah, you're right. It comes out.
So the story of Cincinnatus is that though he is a patrician, he was rather poor. So he's working his own fields, and so Then he had two representatives from the Roman Senate come up to him and tell him that he was voted as the dictator. And so the reason he was voted as the dictator, remember, that's a temporary position of authority to make sure there's one leader in times of crisis.
How was he voted dictator? He wasn't there to vote for dictator.
He wasn't the senator, and the Senate voted on who the dictator was. So they could just vote for, but it had to be a patrician. Well, but the thing is, when they voted for him, it was based on merit, somebody who had good ability. They didn't vote on somebody just because they were popular. They needed somebody who could solve a problem. Cincinnatus went, and if you recall, he was very innovative. Stop throwing stuff. And so when they surround their enemies that had taken part of Rome, they dug trenches around them, they put up stakes to trap them, and so the enemies surrendered. He's going to hold an early form of a triumph. A triumph is a Roman military victory parade. And then as soon as the festivities are over, he takes off the robes and he goes back to his farm and his fields. And the story goes, he could have been king of Rome, but he chose to do away with that and not do it because that's not what a Roman does. A Roman does their service and then they go back and they do their work.
Did this actually happen?
We're sure that the man existed and he must have been a successful leader. But the moral of it is definitely there. It's very telling. And this is going to be one of the reasons why you're going to have later on why Brutus is going to assassinate Julius Caesar. Because Julius Caesar does something different. He's going to be a hero of Rome. But instead of giving things up and stepping aside whenever he's victorious, he's just going to take control of things. And so it's going to be the opposite of Cincinnatus in many ways. Victorious, but vain. Whereas Cincinnatus isn't vain. He's like humble, right? You see certain virtues behind it. So let's go ahead and get our notes. So back to the first guy, Coriolanus. So what was that? Remember, these are moral stories. Roman moral stories. Most likely revolving around real people. So we don't want to call them myth, but they do seem to have some mythic leanings to them. But that's not saying real people can't do these things. That's not saying a real person can't be moved by their mother and their family, or that somebody would be such a great person that they would turn down power for the good of their people. That's not saying it's impossible. Right, Jacob?
Mm-hmm. So, Coriolanus is that one guy who refused to give food to his son.
They refused to what? Okay. So, all right. So Coriolanus, how did he gain fame?
War hero. War
hero. So, what did he do?
He's a traitor.
No, well, what did he do as a war hero?
He captured a city, burned a city.
Yeah. Let's see. Led a charge and capture a walled city. How did he get kicked out of Rome?
Traitor.
Because he was plebis.
Plebis.
Fled Rome because, but how did he exhibit that?
By saying they don't deserve rights.
Yeah, he tried to remove plebeian rights. And because of that, what did he do?
Joined none of your room.
Yeah, then led Rome's enemies. Hey, Jaden, I want you to help me answer the next one. To Rome. What stops him?
His mother.
Yeah. His wife and mother
And children.
Oh yeah, and the naked babies. Convinced him to relent. So off he goes into where we don't know, but Rome was still standing, and we do know that. So hooray, hurrah, he had some sort of honor.
Or Cincinnatus.
Yeah, like
For the poor patrician
yes.
that lived on a little farm beyond the Tiber.
And what did they choose him to be?
Patrician.
Oh,
No, he was
No,
born
dictator.
that.
Patricia.
They just make him rich. Just give him money.
They made him a dictator.
Yeah.
Here.
Made dictator to save Rome. Okay, so like we're in such a crisis. This is their emergency button. They're like, oh shoot, can't figure things out. Make somebody a dictator. Let's hope they don't like mess everything up. So, what does he do as dictator?
He surrounds them with stakes
Yeah.
and digs a hole.
Yeah.
How does that work? I really don't understand.
So, all right. So, the
We
bad,
got everyone in Rome to come, basically.
yeah. So, like, the bad guys are on a hill, and they got their battle axe or whatever. They're barbarians. They're wearing horn helmets. Okay. And so,
Oh, look at them legs.
so what they do is in the middle of the night, he has the guys go around their fortified hill, and he has them dig a trench. Then they put these spiked stakes all around them to where they can't get out. And they're like, oh shoot, what am I going to do? Well, they have to surrender. And so everybody's all happy about that. His name's Mr. I Just Lost. So,
It looks like he's just holding an F in his hand. Is that supposed to be like one of those like white flags?
that's his totally barbarian axe. All
It
right.
looks like a white flag.
It could be that as well. All right, so use innovation to defeat Rome's captors.
To defeat.
Captors. No, that's not useful.
Captors. CAPTORS.
Oh, it's an O, not U. Okay, yeah. Defeat Rome's captors. So he defeats them. What happens next?
He then returned to his farm.
Oh, yeah, he did. But
He then goes on a victory parade through the city.
yeah, Rome gave him a
Oh,
victory parade. But yes, you're correct. He then went back to his little farm. He did his service, he went home. So, cool. All right. Your pictures. So, these are our two Roman examples today. Monday we'll go over Camillus and some others and all that good stuff. But tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about Roman law, but it's not going to be a lecture. It's going to be more like an assignment activity type thing and all that good stuff. But that was pretty quick. This is a larger chapter. That's okay. All right, so that's going to end our lecture for today. Our next lecture is on Monday, and we'll post an assignment for you tomorrow. Talk to you later.
Okay.